Alright, we're going to graph this linear inequality. So first thing I would do is solve for y. Let's get a little space. X plus 2y is greater than 4. Let's subtract x from both sides. Divide every little part by 2. And y is greater than negative 1/2 x. There's my slope. Plus 2. So my slope is negative 1/2. And the intercept is 2. So I'm going to start on the y-axis. Remember, it's your y-axis intercept. I'll start on the y-axis at 2. And from there, go down 1, right 2 for my negative 1/2. I'm going to go backwards. Let's double check this inequality. It is greater than, but not greater than or equal, so we're going to have a dotted line. So solutions on this line are not solutions, or points on this line are not solutions. That was a big problem and issue with the computer part of the test. People were misidentifying a dotted line. And this says y is greater than. Well, where is y greater? From 2, y is greater at 3. So above, y is greater above. So we shade above. And this is the region that's the solution. What is the range of the relation? Range is the y values. So our y values are negative 2. Let's put a pen here. Negative 2, positive 1, and 3. Looks like A is the answer. Which could be represented by the graph. Well, the graph's not perfect, but let's assume here that we're starting at negative 200. It hits that point. Let's assume here that we hit this 40 at 0. So the debt is 0 at 40 weeks. That means that they get paid off. So Jamie owed her uncle $200, and each week for 40 weeks she paid him 10. Sorry, she paid him 5. So this would work out because we know she paid off the $200. 5 times 40 is 200. And these other ones don't really make sense. Each week for 5 weeks would have ended up right here. There's the 5-week mark. So each week for 5 weeks doesn't make sense. Each week for 200 weeks, well, 200 weeks would be way off to the right. So looks like A is our answer. Let's go ahead and do the next page as well. Alright, 16 is not my favorite question. Instead of filling in something as a rule, I'm going to kind of use the idea of always, sometimes, never. Always. Sometimes is that weird word, and never. So x and y have a power of 1. That is always linear. X has a power greater than 1. Never. X is multiplied by a constant of variation. Well, I don't think 0 is counted as a constant of variation, so I would say that is sometimes, because y equals a number would have a constant of variation of 0, and I don't think that works. Could be wrong on that. Division of x, never. Y has a power greater than 1, never. Y is equal to a constant, sometimes. X is equal to a constant. Now be careful here, this is linear, but it is not a linear function. So as long as they don't say function, we can count that. X and y are multiplied together is a never. That's kind of, to me, a better exercise than saying which is a rule, because a rule should always apply and always be true, in my opinion. Which is linear? So this one is linear, but not a linear function. This is a linear function. This is a linear function. And this one is a linear function. Evaluate. So 18 should be cake. We should be able to get this one. All it is plug in 0 for x, and we call that g of 0. So g of 0 equals 2/3 times 0 minus 1. The only thing I changed was the x. The x became 0. So g of 0 equals -1. And we're going to plug in x is 3, so we're going to find g of 3. G of 3 is another way of saying y. So we're going to find the y value when x is 3. So 2/3 times 3 minus 1 gives us 2 minus 1, which is 1. So g of 3 is 1. So let's try one more page here. This one again is pretty short. Identify the line that has slope 3 and intercept of -2. So we need an intercept of -2. And so we're down to B or C. A slope of 3 means it's going to go up 3 over 1. It seems to be that one, up 3 over 1. This has a slope of up 2 over 3, so no, D doesn't work. Alright, so 22. Car rental company charges a flat fee of $10 a day and 10 cents per mile so we know we quite possibly or most likely have our variable rate, our slope, right there. Writing equations, let's define our variables first. So x is going to be the number of miles, and y is going to be our total cost. Total cost for renting. And our equation is going to be the total cost, y, equals our slope, 0.10x, plus our flat rate, 10. Explain why a domain of -200 would not be reasonable. You can't drive -200 miles. X is the domain, and x is the number of miles. You can't drive negative miles. If you drove 22 miles, how much would it cost? So 22 miles. If y equals 0.1x plus 10, put in 22 for x, and we get y equals 2.2 plus 10, or $12.20. And we could say the charge will be, or the cost will be, $12.20 for 22 miles. That's the word miles if you're having trouble reading it. I'm sure this will fix it perfectly.